Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. I garden in zone 8B in southeastern North Carolina, and I should have dressed to match my Loropetalum because, oh my gosh, these guys are putting on an amazing show. The Loropetalum is obviously a flowering shrub. It is hardy to zone 7, and these babies were minuscule, tiny little shrubs that the builders put in when we first bought our house 8 years ago. So they get pretty big. I think they max out around 6 feet tall and 6 feet wide. They do bloom multiple times a year. So another name for these shrubs is the Chinese fringe flower. So you may have heard of that before. So their best show is probably now super duper early in the spring. We are in March right now, and I wanted to show you some of the things that are looking so amazing as spring is starting to pop up everywhere. So the Loropetalum is an amazing thing if you want to put on a show somewhere great. This is the front of my yard. So my idea here is to show you how many things are looking great this early in the year. Right along my walkway, which has changed completely since the fall, I added a lot more stepping stones, and I decided to plant tulip bulbs all alongside the walkway. So I have 2 rows of tulips that are coming up. The really interesting thing is, while I'm in zone 8A/B, yeah, I have a lot of things that maybe don't thrive in colder climates, but tulips are annuals for me, whereas they're definitely perennial in those colder climates. So that was a pretty interesting thing. So I did have to cold treat my tulip bulbs for, I don't know if it was 12 weeks, and I kept them refrigerated, planted them in the ground, and here we are now. So tulips are an annual for me, but all of my bulbs are beginning to show up over here, and I have them in front borders and other parts of my yard as well. Beside my front walkway, do you see this pink happening right here? Let me get you a little closer. So I have a decent amount of color happening in my front area that leads up to my front door. This pink verbena is, again, no exception to that. This verbena was a pot filler for me. I had a very large pot on the side of my walkway in the front there. Well, that pot had to be moved inside because what was in it was not cold tolerant. I decided, just kind of on a whim, to see if I could take some of the verbena that was in there and put it in the ground instead. Last year, when I left the verbena in the pot and tried to overwinter it inside, it did not work for me. When I put it in the ground, it's been blooming ever since. This baby has not stopped blooming for the entire winter. So these are not new buds. It just keeps going for me. So the verbena is a great ground cover. It does have a spreading habit. Also draping out of a pot, it looks very beautiful. Definitely you want to have space for it though, because it is planted here in the middle and then has this additional growth spreading out. Right here beside the verbena, it may not look like much right now, but I actually have a couple of little blossoms on my echinacea. Yes, it looks tiny, but this is going to be a double scoop echinacea over here that has those gorgeous pink blossoms on it, and they are already peeking out. Now, daffodils are a pretty common sight in the early spring. So these guys will be perennial for me, unlike the tulips, and I did plant these from bulb also. So I have a little row here, and again, I have more rows in other spots as front areas and focal areas for this early in the spring to bring that color. These guys are in different states of growth, some just about to bloom, some of them not even ready to bloom yet. So this spot in my backyard garden is actually pretty nice right now. I have the creeping moss phlox, and it is not even in its prime right now. The phlox for me has been blooming with just a few little blossoms throughout the entire winter, and now it's starting to look even better. So I think probably as we get further into where spring is going to officially start, that's when the phlox is going to look amazing. This is a ground cover. It does spread quite easily, and you can divide it up. In fact, this is a division from a larger plant I have on the other side of my yard, which I will show you because that one's creeping up all my beautiful rocks. So the phlox here, I have the red cordyline in the back there. That one is perennial for me also. I know sometimes they just sell them as like little spikes that you can put into the center of flower pot or an arrangement. So, but that one has gotten bigger and bigger for me each year. That one can also be divided up, and that one's a lot easier to see than the phlox where you'll just make your own division. The cordyline actually starts out from a little center and sprouts out, and you can kind of see exactly where to put your shovel in order to make that division. Here, I already have some sprouts from my Stargazer lilies. These are really summer bloomers, but I love them, and I have quite a lily selection right here in my yard. So these are Stargazers. These are going to be daylilies. And I think the daylilies are red, a dark red in this spot, but you know, I am a firm believer in having as many dividable perennials as possible. So I end up dividing things and moving them around in my yard. So I actually am not positive which ones I have there. I'll have to look back at a picture. And then on the left side of me, I have little sprouts of my tiger lilies coming up. The tiger lilies are such a delicate, unusual looking orange bloom that has like an upside down bloom look to it. I love all of them. So these three lilies are entirely different that are all near each other. The other green patch that you see over here is my dianthus. Dianthus has been going in and out of bloom for me all winter, similar to the phlox. So the dianthus probably, again, more like the start of April, that's when we're gonna see a lot more blooms take place on that. There are several varieties of dianthus. This one's very carpet-like, and it is a ground cover also, and it has that deep magenta flower on it, so that one I love. So sticking with this same flower bed, just kind of moving off to the side, I have another set of daylilies right here, so you can see how far up out of the ground they are just in March. So that is one great thing. And then I have the grape hyacinth muscari right here. So you can see these little purple plumes. These guys came out early February, I want to say. The muscari is hardy zones 3 through 9, and the phlox is as well. So that means a lot of people get to enjoy these plants, which is super cool because they're early bloomers for everybody, and that makes us all happy. So the muscari over here, you can also divide just by putting a shovel in it, taking a scoop of it and putting it somewhere else. So directly across my yard from where we just were, I just wanted to show you one of my favorite garden beds, and this is my rock garden. My rock garden is my favorite because I just love rocks and boulders and adding them in as part of my landscape. I just wanted to show you the phlox that I have over here on this side as well. It is creeping up all of the rocks. I love the way that it looks. And then I do have more muscari right over here. Before my wisteria that is going to be gorgeous in mid-April starts taking off and really putting on its show and distracting us, I just wanted to show you this gorgeous sedum as well as the autumn joy sedum that's right here forming into a clump. Now my autumn joy sedum, I have been able to divide that and I put it into pots and different things. It seems to do better for me in pots, and I just got the suggestion that maybe it gets too much sun here. So I'm actually gonna scoop this up and move it into a place that has some more shade. It seems that that can get much larger and thrive a lot more if it has a little bit more relief from our North Carolina sun. And then this sedum right here, it's got little rosettes on it. I've had it for a while. It came in a variety pack of sedums, and this is the one that just did the best. It thrives for me. So I have it just going all over the place, creeping over here. And again, I also have that in multiple places in my yard. So I'm thrilled when I can have a perennial that I can just dig up, divide up, and put in other places. Beside the phlox and the muscari that's here in my rock garden, I also have clumps of Shasta daisies. So the Shasta daisies obviously, you know, don't have the flowers on them right now, but they have this gorgeous green clumping effect. So I mean, even these are something that's looking amazing this time of year because, well, it's green, you know it's alive, and you know what's coming. Before we leave the rock garden, I had to show you, I have another coneflower that is popping up. This one actually has a red coneflower on it already. So that we got that, and I see several other buds that are right here by it. I cannot believe that. That's sort of exciting. That's like a summer reminder. Holy. So hardy banana trees. Hardy banana trees have a tropical look, but yet are very cold tolerant, and they are hardy to zone 4. So their leaves come out, they look very luscious, and yet they can tolerate temperatures at negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. These babies make me laugh, and I actually couldn't wait to share them, because as soon as it starts to get warm out, it's like they get excited and pop out a new leaf and pop out a new leaf. So all the little green growth that we get showing up is just because the temperatures are a little warmer now. So it's like getting excited. But if it gets cold again, they're going to start wilting and turning brown. And then we start over with the leaf pop. Something that I learned about the hardy banana trees, they will start growing out of their former stalk. So the height that you get from your banana trees year to year will depend on how low you cut the stalk down. So in the case of these right here, I learned that we're not going to cut the stalk all the way down to the ground, because if we do that, I'm starting from square one again that growing season. Whereas if I leave them up taller, sure, they don't look that great in the winter, but I'm already gonna start with this much additional height each growing season. So that is something that I learned. Yes, you do cut the stalks down after they're done for the season. So for the winter, they kind of just look like this, but that's okay, because hardy to zone 4. Before we stop talking about banana trees, I just wanted to show you another little section that I have beside my pool. Same deal, obviously the green sprouting up in excitement for the warm weather. But I did want to mention how banana tree leaves, how they unfold. So they actually shoot up, almost looks like they're curled. And then once they extend far enough, they begin to unfurl. So that's how they look. And then they start blowing in the breeze like the beautiful things that we know them to be. So right after talking about banana trees, I really wanted to talk about the canna lilies, because they are very similar in the way their leaves come out and unfurl. Here's the thing with canna lilies. First of all, I have lots and lots of them in my yard. This is just happens to be a spot where there's a great example of new growth popping up. Canna lilies are not cold hardy. They are tropical flowers, so they're hardy to about zone 8, possibly 7, depending on the variety. I'm kind of right on the line of where canna lilies are tolerant and are going to come back as perennials. Some people do dig up the rhizomes, store them for the winter, putting them back out. Luckily, I don't need to do that, and I say luckily because I absolutely adore canna lilies, and I have lots and lots of them. So they spread for me underground with their rhizomes. So the thing I wanted to say was, even though their leaves are quite similar to the banana trees, like I said, they pop out of the ground when the temperatures start to get warmer, and they unfurl just like a banana tree does. These guys do not come out of their stalks from last year. They come up freshly on the side of last year's growth. So they are using, again, the rhizome root, so, you know, kind of looks like ginger, let's say, and they're coming out of the side. So I have this one here, as well as this one here, that were just fabulous examples of the old stalk being here and the new green leaf showing right there. As I said, I have lots of canna lilies because I just absolutely love them. So these are a shorter dwarf variety that are here, but you can see lots of green leaves sprouting up all over the place. And this bed is actually filled with a few different varieties. I just wanted to show you some of the goodies that I have, some of the bit of color that I have popping out, and share the excitement of spring getting here. We have done it. We are making it through the cold and the gray. Thank you so much for watching, and happy planting.